kalua pig is one of the standards that you're going to find at any luau. Kalua itself describes the cooking in the imu, or the underground oven. So the process traditionally is kind of a cross between smoking and steaming. At the poi factory, we use a smoker and the oven to kind of get close to that consistency of what kalua pig is. Kalua pig is similar to like a pulled pork. So basically it's a long, slow cook that makes the pork really tender. It's also important to have that kind of smoky flavor to it also. So our luau stews are another of the foods that come from the kalo, and then the luau is the leaf and parts of the stem. The leaves and the stems we cook down really well. It also has those proteins that make it itchy if it's not cooked well, and we cook it into a stew. And it's similar to spinach. If spinach is cooked down really, really well, almost like a gravy. For the squid luau, it's actually octopus, but in Hawaii we call it squid luau. And also coconut milk. Almost like a curry, like a coconut curry, but without all of the spices. And then for the beef luau, it's pretty much just the beef and the flavoring, the saltedness. It's not as creamy as the squid luau. So if you like things that are really creamy, go with the squid luau. If you like things that are more the straight, simpler flavors, the beef luau is a good choice. Chicken long rice, kind of comes from the connections, of course, to Chinese communities and Asian communities in Hawaii. So it's actually the noodles. So the long rice is actually the rice noodles. Almost like a chicken noodle soup, but with clearer noodles. Simple flavorings that make it a really nice kind of soupy dish. Lau in Hawaiian means leaf. Basically, a lau is a dish that's made inside of the taro leaves. The taro leaves are stacked on each other, and then inside you put different types of meat. So ours, we have pork and a little bit of butterfish in there. And the meats are then wrapped up into kind of a ball, and then they're rolled in tea leaves, which is just to keep it all together. The ho'io salad is made out of the fern shoots that are really nice and tender, and so it's kind of a really nice green shoot, and once it's parboiled, it has like a nice crunch to it. And we cut them into 1.5 inch pieces and then mix that with tomatoes and onions. Usually we add a little bit of dried opai or shrimp in there to give a little bit of seafood flavor to it, and then it has a nice shoyu and vinegar sauce that makes it kind of a nice refreshing salad. So lomi salmon is basically made out of tomatoes, that's the main ingredient, and then we also add in onions and green onions. And then the salmon part is actually just small pieces of salted salmon. And this kind of comes from the connections that Hawaii had with the whaling and the shipping industries. Salmon was one of those products that would come on those boats. So that salted salmon has been part of Hawaiian food for hundreds of years now, actually. Haupia is one of the standard desserts in Hawaiian food, and basically it's a coconut milk pudding. Not quite as firmed up as jello, but a little bit more on the pudding side, and we usually cut it into small squares. Kulolo is also made out of taro root, but instead of pounding it into poi, what we do is we grind it up when it's raw, and then we mix it with coconut milk and sugar, and then it goes for a long steam, and so it ends up being similar to like mochi. It's like a stiffer pudding. Because it has a really nice long cook, it ends up caramelizing, so it has nice kind of smoky caramelized flavor to it. And that's one of the main components to our famous dessert that we call the Sweet Lady of Waiahole. Basically, we take our kulolo and we just add haupia flavored ice cream to that, and that's what we call the Sweet Lady of Waiahole.